we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we don't have a quorum, so we can't approve the minutes, but we can certainly start with agenda item 1, the downtown parking study.
Yes.
If you'd introduce yourself and...
I'm going to speak briefly on it before you start, Alex.
Yep.
You know, this body basically adopted and put together the downtown master plan that the CRA did do and produce and hired out. And moving forward with the CRA master plan, in order to put that into play, we knew it would create additional 5,000 possible residential units downtown, an additional 300,000 square feet of retail stuff. The question was, you know, that what's going to be with the parking. Now, all of us and everybody here has been in the city forever, and we know there's no parking downtown, but it's nothing like to have the actual concrete evidence from professionals to say we do need parking. And that's basically what this was. We had somebody come in and do a study as basically the next phase of the downtown redevelopment plan to do a parking study and just identify the possible parking deficiencies that we will have should we build out downtown, just to be proactive in it. So we asked the Cordino group to come in and do the parking study, and Alex David will now give us a brief presentation on it, and we do have copies here if you want to look at them.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening. Again, my name is Alex David with the Cordino Group. And I'd like to just start with a very, very brief history of how we got to the parking study. And some of you have... I'm sorry?
The mic on?
Yeah. Yes. Just have to lean in a little more.
Turn your hearing aid up.
Crank it up.
Anyway, so just wanted to give you a quick history of how we got to this point. And as many of you know, you've been involved here for a long time. A couple of years ago, the city commissioned what was called the Major Corridor Master Plan that looked at a number of city corridors, how to make them better, you know, aesthetically more pleasing, adding street furniture, landscaping, and all of that. And I believe there were 5 or 6 corridors that were part of this master plan. 125th Street, Biscayne, West Dixie, 119th, and Northwest 7th Avenue, and I may be missing one, but basically a document was put together and submitted to the city in 2013 that outlined how we could get to that point where we could, you know, improve these corridors. And we're talking basically about the public right-of-way part of the corridors. After that was done, last year we came in and did the illustrative concept plan for downtown, which focused on this area, the downtown area from basically 6th Avenue to the, almost the railroad tracks and just a little bit south of here and to a little bit north. You know, what could we do to this area? You know, we, as Arthur said, we're looking at, based on your current code, you know, to come in, we would be allowed to build almost 5,000 units or, you know, around, and several 100,000 square feet of office or restaurant or retail uses. So that was the concept plan that we did, and we looked at public space, private developers, public-private partnerships to get us to where we needed to be to you know, have the city realize its goals. So and the goal basically was to make the city, you know, downtown a livable, workable, and enjoyable downtown. But to get there, there's one major component that's missing. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of, you know, we were visualizing mixed-use buildings and parking, of course. But if you want to draw people in, like South Miami, say, you need parking to draw people into the city and make it easy for them to, you know, park once and then go wherever in downtown. So basically, that's what we did in the parking study, because right now, out of all the lots that we looked at, there are about 639 parking spaces. And some of the striping's off, you can't see it anymore, so we're not quite sure. But in the number of parking spaces, parking lots around downtown North Miami, and even up to the high school, which is, there's one parking lot up there, we only counted 639 spaces. Well, to build 5,000 units and 300,000 square feet, you're going to need almost 8,000 if nothing else changes. So that's what we're dealing with. We're very, very deficient in parking. So basically what we did in the inventory, in the parking study, was look at our inventory. So, we looked at the CRA, and I'm just going to run through this, and if you have questions, please ask. But we looked at the CRA, looked at the major facilities that the city has downtown, and where the parking is. And the parking lots that we looked at are on page 12 of this document. So it lays out the number of the city-owned parking lots and the number of spaces in those lots. And so that's what a lot of this document is, just showing, what's there currently. And in the end, on page 19, we see that it's about 639 spaces. So what could we do with some of those spaces if we went just public parking garages? Are there opportunities for working public-private partnerships? So we also looked at that. So this again is carried through from the concept plan, where we laid out renderings and buildings and parking areas, parking lots. So again, this is what the continuation of that. But the long and short of it is, we need more parking, and starting on page 35, we kind of start laying out what we could do with some of the city-owned lots, because some of them, like just across 8th Avenue, and this is, I think, the number one parking garage that we're looking at as a mixed use. It would also serve, the city hall with retail on the bottom. There's an opportunity on the north side on 126th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. There's a good-sized parking area that the city already owns. Can we expand it? Can we go into a public-private partnership, have apartments or whatever else, and parking below that to service new restaurants and retail downtown? So basically that's the next couple pages. One private entity we looked at was the Publix, and that's shown on page 42. As you know, Publix has been going vertical with parking, so I think this is important. I work for a lot of cities in Miami-Dade County, and there are a lot of Publix, almost all of them that are being proposed now, in certain areas, they're going either parking below, store above, or vice versa. The Publix on the first floor and 2 levels of parking. Coral Gables has an apartment building above the parking. So there are a lot of iterations to this thing, but I think that's such a big site in total that we could, really, and they could propose something, a mixed use, and that's what we're looking at. So that's kind of the one major private parcel that we really took an interest in. And again, so also another item, as we all know, Tri-Rail's looking at possibly having a stop at 125th Street, and I think that's a very important stop. So there would be a lot of commuter traffic, and we would like to get them there and have them get on the train and go. So that's another important note of parking that they're studying. Tied into a really nice train station. And I believe that's it. I mean, it's a very quick presentation, but I just wanted to go over the basics with you, and I'm here to answer any questions. If there are any issues in the document that you see that you want clarified, this is the first step. we'll be going to the CRA, the board tomorrow, just as a draft to have a discussion on this document also, and then we'll come back and finalize it when we get everyone's comments.
One thing I wanted to bring to your attention, on this particular one, I do have northwest instead of northeast on the
Which
streets.
page? What page is that?
That's page 12.
12. Yeah, I found the typo before too. So
On the map itself,
Okay. Huh.
the
Okay, thank you.
numbers,
I see.
the
The numbers are
description
right.
of the numbers is correct, but
Yep,
the
okay.
street,
The map, yeah.
And numbers everything says northeast on the right there, but on the map it's wrong. Okay, got it. Thank you.
if you were gonna bring it to the,
I'm sorry?
if you're gonna bring it to the board.
Yeah, we're
tomorrow.
gonna,
That's a good catch.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
good. I've looked at it a million times and noticed it.
We blame you for that.
I could look at it 20 times and still there's something, I just found something else today too, so.
And again, this is us getting out in front of what's about to come, us bringing this, us doing the parking study. We could sit here and talk about downtown redevelopment all we want and us moving forward with downtown redevelopment. But the first question that anybody's gonna ask is, well, where are the people gonna park at, So with the possibilities of the additional 5,000 residential units and the possibility of up to 300,000 square feet of retail space, the executive director and myself did feel, and this board, because you guys were part of this conversation, we first talked about doing a parking study, and I think what Alex and the Cordino group did, mapped it out for us very well, even looking at possible the tri-rail coming in also. So this is the first step. We're gonna take this in front, but it's exactly what happened here tonight. Blanca did notice a typo. This is for everybody to have the document, look at it, maybe some things that we don't like, maybe some things we do like, some things we want expanded upon. And we'll go back and get with the Cordino group on it. So this is gonna be a document that we're gonna probably chew on for the next couple of weeks, and, feel free to take it home with you and look it over. And if we have any, questions or whatever, then you definitely direct your questions to me or things that you think might need to be added or changed. And we'll be working with Alex and moving forward with it. The same thing is gonna happen tomorrow night. He's gonna do a brief presentation to the board, but it's not for them to vote on tomorrow either. It's for them to take it as well and look it over for a couple of weeks to see if they wanna change anything, they want anything added, they have any questions before we do move forward. And eventually, probably by the next meeting, we'll be looking to vote this in and have it where it's actual real document and support as we move forward with the downtown redevelopment. And knowing just giving us, possibilities of parking and what we should be looking at first as we do things.
Okay, anybody have any other questions?
I have a question. Are those proposed parking areas gonna be several floors?
Yes, definitely. And it'll come as we go along with the demand, and once we get our redevelopment plan done, that will actually, let us know how big it should be. When we start doing a redevelopment plan and coming up with exact projects, we'll know how big the parking. But I'm anticipating several floors, probably, maybe about at least 5 or 6 stories, to include mixed use, residential, and some possible commercial at the bottom, and then the parking at the top.
What is our current height on 125th Street? 110 feet?
110.
Okay.
The zoning is. Mixed use,
Yeah, 110,
Yeah.
okay. Because one of the things that we brought up at the Planning Commission, we are going to be reviewing the land use ordinance this year.
correct.
And personally, and I gather that the feeling of most of the people on the Planning Commission is to go higher. And there's other areas of the city that we want to look at going much higher. Northwest 7th Avenue as it parallels I-95, possibly West Dixie, certain areas along Biscayne Boulevard, and obviously 125th Street. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago at the City Council. I see cranes all over the place, but I don't see them here in North Miami. I see beautiful developments going up, and I think that we have to change the mode. And with regards to your design on, this is me, I'm going way ahead of myself here. But at the last CRA retrainer we had, I took one of the seminars in the parking garages, and I see some beautiful, beautiful structures on Miami Beach. And I would like to see the same thing take place over here, where something is, you mentioned Publix.
Yeah.
And something dynamic,
Right.
not a cookie cutter, but something that gives it pizzazz and it jumps out where you say, wow, that is an architectural beauty. I wouldn't mind having that parking garage in my neighborhood instead of some drab, dry, cookie cutter parking garage that we have.
And we have that conversation on, you're right on point, because we had that conversation last
I mean,
week.
we can really turn that into a thing of beauty. One of the things that I did ask for at the Planning Commission, and we did a look at, is with the new parking garages that are obviously above grade, that they be landscaped properly, that they be designed in such a fashion as not to be unattractive. I personally live behind a parking garage, and it's absolutely disastrous. And thank God now the shrubbery's starting to grow in to block it out. And I think that's very important. And also you mentioned the corridor. Do we know for sure that they want to make this a stop over here, the transportation hub? I'm hoping they do.
Yeah.
That was for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
That's for
It
sure.
is.
Definitely, yes.
And we do have ideal places over there that, I'll be honest with you, on Northeast 14th Avenue, as you come over the railroad tracks, and I look at that crap for the last 40 years, it's time it comes down.
I noticed that you have a little parking area for the proposed FEC.
Mhm.
Do we have any feeling yet of where we're actually the FEC is going to locate along?
Well, I'm sure the stop is gonna have to be there on 125th. I don't see it being anywhere else.
They own Arch Creek, they
Yeah.
own that Arch
Right,
Creek
I think we
Road.
met with the FEC, and also there's the Florida Eastwood, not only Eastwood Development, but also the,
Westward Ho or Eastward
yeah,
Ho?
Eastward Ho was the
Right.
old, way
The
back.
old,
Yeah,
right.
Eastward
But
Ho.
they have actually identified, Duke is correct, that area along 14th Avenue, right where the open piece of land is. So we're either looking on the property on the east side of the railroad tracks or the west side. And most of it, which is still owned by the FEC.
FEC, the
So,
Arch Creek Road is
correct.
owned by FEC.
And we're also looking at other properties adjacent to that we could actually purchase. I don't know if it's part of the capital plan, or we will definitely make it part of the CRA plan, in which, we would look into purchasing it. Because you're not looking at not only parking, but you're looking at setting up some sort of businesses. You're gonna have a transient community, so you're gonna have to set up some sort of concessionaires. You're gonna have to set up,
You can do a fantastic.
Exactly.
A fantastic,
You've
beautiful,
been
dynamic
for-
job.
And for those of us who
I've seen some other
traveled and
areas of the
you've
country.
seen, you go to London, you go to come out to any one of these stops. I mean, you have everything. There's a one-stop shop. You could pick up almost anything on the way into the train station.
Right.
You
And
know,
you make it nice, as you said,
There are businesses, and I don't mean to do, as you come over that railroad track, this is the gateway to our city. And it actually sends out a terrible, terrible message, and I'm really hoping that they do come into the city. As you go over the railroad tracks, on the right-hand side, you have a tire shop. As you go over the tracks going westbound, you have an abandoned gas station that's now a convenience store. And then on the other side of the street, you have an old golf station with the lights from 1960 they're not even working, that are still up there. It looks like heck. And I really hope that this does come into play and we can put up a dynamic parking facility, a work of art. Well, I daydream about this stuff.
Oh, but that's,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's major from, actually it's 32 or 31 stops from Jupiter all the way down to Miami. Right. Correct.
so,
Correct.
What kind of outreach will we do
You know what I'm talking
to
about?
the neighbors to the south of us
Jeez,
here? They're the ones that fight
Give it to the
the
restoration.
height restriction in Biscayne Park.
Right.
Well, it's really
They're
not,
the
well-
ones that are gonna fight us.
well, we'll
trying to
work on
park
that. I
our
mean,
cheap.
and you're right, there's a lot of outreach, and that's part of, this whole process. This document, I don't know if you've seen, but this was the concept plan we did, so there are a lot of renderings, it's concept, so we're not tied to any architecture, but we're giving ideas to make buildings look better.
Who did you
And
say
I
was
agree
gonna
with
fight
you,
us?
hiding garages and.
Oh, well, let them fight. I mean,
Well, they're the ones that fought when we tried to increase the height restrictions.
The last
before.
time.
Yeah, but the thing is, we want the height restrictions on 121st Street.
125th?
No,
They-
on 121st, way back when, this is years ago.
Oh, well.
You know,
But-
They'll fight it on 120.
But there's a
I
Biscayne
remember that
Park
incident with the
buffer.
land use, and not to go off into a tangent, but you know what, I don't really give a darn what Biscayne Park wants or
Right.
doesn't want. And you know what, when the power poles by FP&L, I mentioned this the other night, was gonna go through Biscayne Park and Miami Shores, Biscayne Park alongside with Miami Shores, and they had their meeting, didn't invite us to it, and the next thing you know, we have these ugly power poles going through 14th Avenue, 135th, and down with 7th Avenue. Well, you know what? Thank you for inviting us and getting our input, Biscayne Park and Miami Shores, but you
Right.
know what? I don't really give a darn. You know what? This is our city. We pay taxes here. We're the residents. It's what we want to
There-
do.
Point, 'cause the
Let 'em
outreach-
fight.
Right, but there is a transition, Biscayne Park transition zone, and this is outside of, like the parking garage across the street's outside of that zone, so.
Sure that they view it that way.
Why,
Well, again,
my opinion as a plan.
any other, any other questions?
One question about the
Yeah.
Publix though, are you talking about proposing to rebuild that Publix is
I'm not proposing anything, it's just, it's an idea, because, you know, they're tearing down all these old stores, and, you know, they have valuable land, and there's a lot of land that goes to parking.
propose that we put a Publix up over here?
No, in the existing Publix, if they were to tear down the Sixth Avenue Publix, what could they do to better fit into the urban fabric? Which is a smaller footprint of parking, you know, put the parking above like they're doing everywhere else. I mean, I tried to count the number of Publixes recently,
They're supposed to do it next year,
For
but
years,
I agree with you totally. Last week, as you all well know, Walmart came before the planning commission and it went down. And one of the reasons I think it went down is because it was just a conventional box store with no glamour, no nothing to it. And then it intruded greatly into the residential area. There was one property that had two houses side by side, and the next thing he knows is he was gonna have a wall surrounding these two houses, which was absolutely atrocious. And there was no buffer, there was no
Right.
landscaping. And I've seen things of beauty in this city, very few of them, but there are, like behind the Publix, not the Publix, the Home Depot on San Souci, in
Right.
the San Souci area. If you go to the east of that Home Depot, you don't even know it's there.
Right.
There's a beautiful buffer, there's a trail, there's a path, it's beautifully landscaped, it's gorgeous.
I was just by there this afternoon, so.
Yeah, but, I mean, and that's what we have to do within this city. If we're gonna have a new day and a new way, we can't have developers come in and say, well, you're a poor city, we're just gonna put this up.
Right,
And
we don't want
I'm
parking
excited
garages to
about
look like
this.
parking garages anymore, and that's my,
I like the plan.
that's my thought.
I do, I like
Okay.
it, thank you.
So everybody is pretty much on board with, even though we can't take an official vote, that we can certainly, our consensus of the members present? No, we
You don't
need
say
seven.
we have to vote anyways, yet, right?
No, we're not voting. This
No,
is
but we
just
can say that we have a consensus of,
your support of it. Yeah.
of the support of the plan.
And please, if there are any changes or comments, please pass them to Arthur, and then he'll get them to me, and then we'll tweak it,
Okay.
and, you know, so it's an ongoing process.
Alex,
Kenny?
just one,
I'm sorry.
So, do we, everybody have pretty much?
Yeah.
I just have one question.
Yes.
As part of your plan, I'm looking at page 45. Your
45?
project, yeah,
Mhm.
the projected spaces and costs for the,
Yes.
okay.
I was looking at that too.
You have identified all the spaces along the 125th Street corridor that is owned by the city.
Right, right,
Potentially being areas where we could put parking garages.
yes.
Now, in looking at our downtown conceptual plan, have you come up with any one of those 7 or those 10 areas that you identify to be strategic areas to actually plan a parking garage?
I mean, the couple I'm excited about, and I know Arthur's, the number one he's excited about is across 8th Avenue, because that
Correct.
serves
Right.
Mocha, the city, you know,
Right.
retail on the bottom. You know, there are a lot of, I think, good things about that one, and I know in a previous CRA meeting, that one was discussed.
Correct.
Again, the one, if you were to build a new administrative building to expand, government functions, the one just south of, in the back by the police department in Mocha, that's another one. Another large lot, I know they're all kind of close together, but the other large, I guess, parking lot is the one on 126th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. You own a lot of that block on the north side, except for the medical center. So that's another real good opportunity, say, for mixed use, residential and public parking.
Right.
So those are the three, I think, in my mind.
Right.
Because you do have the land. I mean, it's the city
Right,
has
and that's
most
one
of
of
the land.
the biggest assets that you could, that you need to start, the project.
Right.
Owning the land is good. The city has
Right.
ownership of these properties.
Right.
But in terms of priority or prioritization, with parking being the major need along the commercial corridor,
Right.
I understand 8th Avenue will service the police station and City Hall and part of the commercial development. But strategically along, let's say, the 4th Avenue, Northeast 4th Avenue to Northeast 14th, have you actually identified 3 locations to say, okay, let's prioritize and let's put in the one on 8th Avenue, we'll put in one on West Dixie, we will put in one probably around 10th Avenue if there's space available. So that way you could meet the needs along that, because that's the corridor we're planning to develop as part of our downtown redevelopment.
Right, and we focus, a little bit smaller, but not that much smaller than what you've just said. We looked at from the concept plan to this, and I really think a lot of this relies on private developers. Remember, this is a lot of public-private partnerships, and what we've been discussing with Tanya, and what has been discussed is in this immediate area.
Okay.
So, we have opportunities from, 7th Avenue to, I'd say, to maybe 10th for the most, 7th to 10th, kind of.
Right.
That's kind of the core area.
core
That's
area
where
that you've
she's
studied.
been, she's been guiding us about, her discussions with, the development community. So, right now, maybe that's the priority in that area.
Have you also looked at any sort of recirculation of the traffic on 125th? When I say recirculation, I know that's part of the parking study, but rerouting maybe the eastbound or the westbound traffic along either 126, 127,
because
or
of
even
the
121st.
I've been around a long time too, so I know the West
Right.
Dixie, nightmare, and to the south of block. I lived in Miami Shores at the time that all happened.
Okay.
Many years ago. So I'm very familiar with that whole issue. And in the concept plan in 2000, I believe, and we went back and looked at the records. Remember, there was a big traffic. They wanted to do a big traffic
Right.
circle
The circulation
instead of
and-
closing
right.
off West Dixie. So we looked at that and but again, that's an FDOT and city and issue, and I know you've been trying to get this, take the road back, and I think if that did happen, that would be, allow the city much more flexibility.
Okay.
Yeah, but we didn't really start looking at,
Okay. No, and again, the question.
redirecting traffic because, it's a bigger issue than me, and I'm
Right,
not,
We all know the issue is a bigger issue than, most of us sitting at this table, but, if you want to plan it and you want to do it right, the planning is the critical part of this whole thing.
Right.
And the timing and the order in which we prioritize and how we go about with the development. Because it could either make or break us in terms of having this a success story for the city with the redevelopment.
Right.
I think that's very important.
Right. And we don't have to go too far, and I mentioned South Miami before.
Right.
And, downtown, Sunset Drive, that area of South Miami, they built a public parking garage, and that's where everyone goes, and then they walk. I mean, it's not like they're driving, it's congested, but, and it's a mixture, it has parking and retail underneath, and it's quite a success for that city.
Build it and they will come.
Exactly. Because you go in, you park, and you leave when you're done with whatever, you could spend 6 hours there, and then you're gone. You're not,
Right.
driving here and then having to get in your car to drive another 500 feet to another parking lot because you can't get to the
Yeah.
store.
Alex,
Yeah.
thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Thank
Are
you,
there any
Thank
other
you very
questions?
much.
Thank you, Alex.
I
Okay,
think-
thank you, Alex.
Yeah,
And then
I
remember-
want to say something, I want to make a comment. Okay, the only thing that I see is that you mentioned the multi-use, like we will have parking garage, but we will have store, thing like that, but is that like a promise, or it is true?
The way-
Because sometimes, when you want to develop something, you want to say, oh, we will do this, 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 at the end, you only get the parking garage.
Right, no, the,
Because no developer want to put money there.
right, and you're right, and but there.
What is your compromise?
It,
with the
it's,
city?
again, it's an issue, there, you know, a lot of, it's a mixed-use parking facility, and on Miami Beach, there are parking garages with the retail underneath, and everything's full. There's some other parking garages that they're not full on the retail
Right.
space, so I can't, you know, it's, you know, I'm not gonna say what I wanna say, but it is, you know,
Well,
a
and that
guess.
takes us into our next item, which is the redevelopment plan. Because a lot of that, when we start doing these parking garages, what we want to do are going to be public-private partnerships. So it won't be just us. We own the land, but of course, the city's not going to be kicking out $141 million to build these garages. We're going to partner with some people to
Right.
build these garages. So, and that'll be the help. We'll get that from the outside people when we do the public-private partnerships. Also,
Thank you,
thanks a
Thank
lot,
you very
Alex.
much.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. So,
Okay, if we can back up for just a second, we need to take we do have a quorum present, so we need to take a roll call. We have Claudio Sanchez, we have Pastor Enoch Millian, we have Blanca Cobo, we have Clint Bauer, we have Clark Reynolds, we have Kenny Each, and myself. Now that we have a quorum, has everybody read the minutes, and can we have a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Would anyone care to pass a motion approving the initial presentation of the downtown parking study?
yes, I do. I do.
Yeah, okay, all right. We have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're moving on to an agenda item 2, a redevelopment plan.
Yes. Agenda item 2, the redevelopment plan. Basically, at the last council meeting, well, the last CRA board meeting, we had discussion of possibly moving forward with the redevelopment plan or hiring an outside consultant. The board did state at that moment they would rather us possibly put out an RFP. I don't know if everybody has their agenda packages, but I did print out online with the handouts that we do have. There's a timeline. And with the timeline, you'll see it's on the back of, you'll see the timeline in the back. We need to move forward. I know everyone here knows that the CRA is set to sunset in 2016. October 1st, 2016 is our date. And moving forward, we would need to update our redevelopment plan if we are going to continue as a CRA. And moving forward now, right now we're in January 2015. And speaking with several individuals, it's going to take us probably a minimum of 7 months to get our CRA redevelopment plan together. Once we do that, there's probably like a 8 to 9 month process of meetings that we'll have to go through with the county, with our boards, with you guys. We might have changes to the CRA redevelopment plan, some stuff if it comes before this board, things that you might not like, might have some changes be requested to be made. And I say all of that, if it does take us, approximately about 9 months after the plan is done to go through that and go through all the meetings, that would only leave us with 3 months before we sunset. Now you add in people on vacation, you add in the possibility of, anything happening, the board not being able to meet, a hurricane, just life. That puts us really close to not getting our plan updated. So basically what we did, I sat down and the executive director and myself, we came up with the possibility of our ways of moving forward at this time, rather than wait until we hire somebody. I still think we need to be moving forward And as the coordinator, we're still working and trying to get towards our goal. Right now, there are two available options that are on the table. I don't know if many of you know what's going on in the city, but we just got a new procurement director in. So, new procurement director, a purchasing director. Yes. With her just coming in, it will still take us some time to get something out on the street. Well, we have two options that are available to us now. One is Gray Robinson has extended their offer to do the redevelopment plan. And then there's another contract with Redevelopment Management Associates, RMA. And we could piggyback on their West Palm Beach contract and get the CRA redevelopment plan done. I'm just, I do, if we're gonna definitely try to get this plan done and extend the life of our CRA, I don't know if we have the time to sit around and wait another couple months before we start working on it. With that being said, you know, we did have Steve Zelkowicz, Gray Robinson, submit a proposal, and which was about $25,000. RMA did submit a proposal which totals about $70,000. Both have representation here today, and I just wanted to bring it to the board to see what the board thought of it as far as moving forward. You know, and I'll be taking it to the board tomorrow night as well, and moving forward with it. But both individuals are here. If you guys would like to hear from both of them, you know, if that's, you know, what the board would like to do, we can do that. Yes. Yes.
We're not required to do an RFP or anything for this?
Well, that's sort of like an interesting question. Okay, technically, I think that, if I'm not correct, technically, we're supposed to do an RFP. But the council, if I'm not correct, can waive that process?
Well, we wouldn't be actually
actually,
waiving
we
the
wouldn't
process.
be waiving the process.
Okay.
If you look at the report that I sent to you guys, I believe it's in your package. We are actually looking at the West Palm Beach contract. The last paragraph, or the second paragraph from the bottom of the page, it says that extension of the life of the CRA, staff recommendation or completion of task 1 for the extension of these services with either Gray Robinson or the CRA attorney, or by piggybacking on the West Palm Beach's contract with RMA, which Redevelopment and Associates. This proposal is added in your package. And basically what we're looking at is, the proposal is in there, is the scope which contains, you know, updating the CRA plan. All the items from task order number 1, and the total for just the redevelopment portion of the plan would be $70,000.
Yeah.
The procurement process was already done by West Palm Beach, and what we are doing is just piggybacking on that. We are not circumventing any rules, any laws, any you know, procurement rules or regulation.
Gray Robinson.
Gray Robinson.
In addition.
An extension.
Extension of
Correct. It
service.
would be an additional task order of our
Exactly,
existing.
exactly.
And with regard to the RMA, would be essentially piggybacking, and both of those methods are provided for and allowed for both under Florida law and your local regulations.
So we wouldn't put out a request for proposal with your organization? We could piggyback? I'm sorry, I lost you on that one.
Yes, in the
Your
instance.
organization has done these before?
Yes, in the instance of Gray Robinson, you already have an existing contractual relationship with us.
Right.
You would just be tasking us an additional function for a specified amount. With regard to RMA, they have an existing competitively bid process with Palm Beach County,
Right.
and you
That I
would piggyback on
understand.
theirs.
That I understand that.
So you're gonna be piggybacking either way?
Basically.
You're gonna be.
How do you piggyback on Palm Beach and Palm Beach County? I don't quite understand that.
Well, it's provided for, again, in your regulations, that if there's a competitively bid or procured service, and the services are there, the scope is there as amended or updated by the proposal that's been submitted, you can do that if you so choose.
We did this once before with.
Competitive, it's been vetted by West Palm, and that's what we're gonna.
Yeah.
That's correct.
It's been
Let-
vetted by
let me-
them, and that's good enough for us, and.
Correct me if I'm wrong, let me give you an example. Say like when I was here in the police department, we would buy police cars.
Correct.
Instead of going out for an independent bid, let's say North Miami Beach had it, or the sheriff up in Palm Beach County had a bid out there for Ford Interceptors.
Ford
and they
Tauruses,
got 'em
Interceptors,
for
Crown Vics.
$16,500 per unit. We could piggyback on that bid. That's how it would.
Yeah.
Right, and one of the other things too with the piggyback, with the larger contracts, when it goes out for procurement, you get the economies of scale, because with the larger, contracts, you have the pricing is gonna be a little bit lower. I think the key here is the services that is gonna be applied, or the service that is gonna be received from RMA, it has to be exactly apples to apples. When I say apples to apples, the comparison, exactly what went out in that bid must be the same thing. We cannot take that contract and add anything that is not in that bid. And the attorney could correct me here.
You have the ability to make some minor adjustments.
Minor adjustments.
Price-wise, and those types of issues that are unique to your situation.
Yeah.
But the base process or document that you'll be traveling under, it would be in fact the West Palm Beach or Palm Beach County.
Right,
Correct.
both, in other words,
Palm Beach County, is that a
West Palm Beach.
West Palm,
Beach.
yes, City of Palm,
Is that
yes.
an actual CRA?
Yeah, that's correct, yes, yes.
but actually, both of them are gonna be providing the same services, because they have to provide the same functions.
That's correct, and again, the attorney is correct in talking to our attorneys for the city. As long as we could negotiate the price even below what is submitted, then we're still within the law. The only thing we cannot do, procurement-wise, is to go above the negotiated price that we are piggybacking on.
So, but both Gray Robinson and RMA are both gonna be performing the exact same services. And the scope thereof.
Let me,
It didn't look like that to me.
well,
It looked like it was very different services.
Right.
It looked like a much different scope. I mean, it looked totally different to me.
Well, we have both agencies represented here today. So, let's see if we could get the presentation from RMA.
Okay.
And,
You wanna get up and introduce yourself?
Pastor has
Yeah,
a
I'd like
question
to know
before.
when this project start, when this project will be start, when?
Uh,
Because with
oh, well, we're waiting on the approval from the board. As soon as the board approves the project, okay. Moving forward, the CRA plan needs to be approved. If the city is interested in continuing the CRA or the life of this CRA, we must have a CRA plan in order to take it forward. The key in that whole thing is getting the CRA plan approved, going down to the county, Miami-Dade County, and negotiating with the county to get the CRA continued from 2016 on.
Okay, now what can be done to make this happen?
Well, this is what we presented. We got two proposals. We are here with RMA and Gray Robinson. And we are about to hear what RMA has to present in order to move this plan forward.
Okay.
Let me,
Can
let me
you
say something before we move forward. I know the issue of the piggyback and the contract and putting it out. I did speak with our procurement director, with our new director that we just got in. She won't be able to get to it, and it wouldn't be reasonable for us to ask her to do it before 3 weeks. She just walked in the door last week. So 3 weeks in, by the time she develops a scope, you're talking about another 3 weeks. By the time we put it on the street, you're talking about 30 days minimum. Then we have to have a committee together.
Correct.
Then by the time if
Evaluate it.
somebody comes with any questions or whatever. So you're
Evaluation.
talking, might not get to it till April. Now, we're past our deadline as far as the timeline.
We're up against the wall right now,
Yes.
basically.
You're talking about the CRA plan.
The plan, just the plan. Not
Yes,
the downtown
CRA
redevelopment plan.
redevelopment plan, yes,
This-
exactly.
It's a very narrow,
Correct.
it's a wide issue, but a narrow issue. The whole thing is to get the life of the CRA extended. That's all this is about. There's a lot of other, yeah, as I say, it's very narrow.
Everything else doesn't matter. if it doesn't extend.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I think Kevin will explain, exactly the process. He has been through this several times with other CRAs. He worked with Miami Beach CRA for quite a long time. Now he's representing several CRAs in the South Florida area. He comes with a wealth of experience. Kevin?
All right, Kevin?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about us. I'll tell you just a little bit about the firm and the team, and then touch on our proposal. The company is Redevelopment Management Associates. I am the Director of Economic Development for RMA. I've been with RMA almost 2 years. Prior to that, I was Director of Economic Development and Government Affairs for the City of Miami Beach and the Miami Beach CRA. Our two principals, Kim Briesmeister and Chris Brown, are the former executive directors of the Delray Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, and West Palm Beach CRAs. Rachel Bach, who will be working directly with me on this project, is the former director of the Lake Worth CRA, Economic Development Director of the City of Plantation. We've got, as the executive director said, we've got a lot of experience in South Florida doing plan updates and extensions of CRAs in Broward and Palm Beach and Dade County. Naranja Lake's one of the county CRAs, the Miami Beach CRA. We're working on updating the plan as well as doing all of the zoning and land use changes in the project management for the North Miami Beach CRA and the West Dixie Corridor. We're due the public-private partnership negotiations for North Miami Beach, for West Palm Beach, for City of Margate, the City of Dania Beach. This is myself, my background in Miami Beach. 10 public-private partnerships, 6 of which were parking facilities of about 3,700 spaces. So just to give you a little idea of the sort of the depth of the team, we have engineering, we have construction management divisions, everything in-house, so we don't bring subs in. We have all of those disciplines so we can really come and focus on implementing economic development. And so I think that one of the reasons you see a difference in the two proposals, and I'll just speak about ours, is one of the things that's unique about us is that a lot of the times we stick around. West Palm Beach, Pompano Beach, Margate are 3 CRAs that are completely outsourced to us. We provide staffing from executive director on down. We do project management in Dania Beach, in Coral Springs, in North Miami Beach. And so what we do is our approach to these plans is we're the ones that most of the time, or many times, are the ones that have to come and implement these plans. So we have to look beyond just the statutory approval process and what that minimum checklist is to get something approved. We have to be able to come and give you something that can be implemented. As you said, the update to the plan is based on extending the CRA and getting that extension beyond 2016. And we know that that's going to be based on the downtown plan. That's going to be based on Strategic Planning Group's economic development strategy. It's going to be based on the public-private partnership strategy. It's going to include the comprehensive plan and zoning and any changes that are contemplated there. And obviously it's going to include the parking concepts. But what we've got to do is take that and not just look at what the statute says has to be done, but we've got to take that and tie that to the real estate market. With our real estate division, we'll be able to do that. We've got to look at workforce. We've got to look at the regulatory structure in the community. We've got to look at the specific financials of the CRA and of each potential P3 project that's driving this. And then obviously we've got to look at the markets. We've got to make sure that the CRA plan links to the finances, to the regulations, and most importantly to the markets, and make sure that these are really going to be feasible and that they can be implemented. And so that, I think, is why you see in our scope of work, we've got the CRA plan update really has the background review, background gathering and analysis. We've also got the P3 analysis, which will be very in-depth, go really beyond TIF. we take an economic development approach where we look beyond TIF, and we're going to pull in our expertise in new markets tax credits and EB5s and state programs.
Just clear up what is P3, because a
I'm
lot
sorry.
of the board members, you need to just clear it up what P3 is.
Public-private partnerships, anywhere. Here we're talking about it in the concept mostly of parking garages. We will look to identify any other opportunities to meet plan objectives through public-private partnerships, which is really going to be what are those opportunities to deliver a public service or a public need with private sector participation or private sector funding. And so we're going to get into the depths of that analysis, and then we're going to go through the CRA plan update process, draft the changes, and move that through the CRA board, through the city, and through the county for approval. Beyond that, then we've also recommended, and that's the piece for the plan, the core of the, at least from our perspective, it's really not 25,000 to 70,000. It's more of 25,000 to 30,000 for that component that we've identified in our proposal. That really is the, so let's call it the statutory compliance piece of updating a plan. But then we've also separately recommended, and we recommend this and do this with every CRA we work in, is the development of a 5-year finance plan that looks beyond TIF. It looks at TIF, but it looks at what are all of the other financing opportunities. Our financial analyst will come and sit with the city and with the CRA and go through the annual financial report and work with us to identify all opportunities for enhancing the financing of the CRA and funding the projects that are in the plan. We're also recommending, especially given the changes that have occurred with the CRA, a management and an agency analysis to make sure that the agency, when extended, operates fully in compliance and with best practices of CRAs, and you'll see that in there. And then there's a couple of other pieces that we've offered that are more sort of task-oriented, not lump sum. They're going to be as needed, which is really helping transition and integrate the CRA with the city. Most of the CRAs we work with work under that model. City commission sitting as the board, city manager sitting as the executive director. And then we're available for the specific public-private partnership negotiation and real estate support as we do with many other cities. Those are additional components of the proposal outside of the plan update. But since they're in here, I just want to touch on those. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Just one question. You want to explain to the board actually the process with negotiations with the county, and which is an integral part of this whole process in getting the life of this CRA and how tedious it is?
Sure.
I know you've been through it already, so just to give them.
Sure. Yeah. It will involve a lot of discussion with county staff. County staff that's in the budget office. We've got long-standing relationships with them. They've got a really good understanding of what the elected officials, what the full Board of County Commissioners are looking for from CRAs. And they understand the needs and wants of each individual commissioner whose district the CRA falls into. And so they'll be able to really guide us as the plan develops, and we'll work with them to make sure that they see that what's coming out of the plan is going to be tangible. And when we get through the local process and get that updated, we'll be working with them. We'll be working with each of the 2 county commission offices, which we have good relationships with. We do, one thing I didn't mention is we also do county work. It's not lobbying, but it's policy analysis for the Miami-Dade County League of Cities. And so we're spend a lot of time involved in some of the more recent CRA issues that have popped up at the county. Once we get through there, we're going to have to go through the TIF committee, which is a county staff committee, review committee. We're going to have to go through there at least twice, and hopefully only twice, but you never know how any individual director is going to react. We're going to have to go through 2 different processes with the board. We're going to have to do an ordinance first reading, committee second reading for extension of the CRA Trust Fund ordinance for the North Miami CRA. And then probably at second reading, but it doesn't have to be then, we'll also have to do the resolution adopting the new CRA plan. And so that's the process that will be very lengthy going through the county. There are mandated county code time intervals between some of those activities, 6 weeks between first and second reading, scheduling of committees, and then we'll obviously also have the process that will go through this board, through the CRA board, city council, for the adoption of the plan that the county will ultimately act on. And so it is a lengthy, very involved communication with the county, with the city process that we'll be engaged in.
All right, thank you.
Two things. One, will the work that's been done with the consulting groups on downtown be helpful to you in updating your CRA? Will you be able to use much of the information that we've gotten through, I don't know, all the, I don't know, everything that was happened last summer?
We will, and we've already spent, I know we've got a lot more detail review to do, but we've already spent a fair amount of time reviewing some of those documents just in developing our proposal for you to review. Yeah.
Let me make one comment in that, you know, I own a building that's on 125th, directly in front of the parking lot on 8th Avenue. And I've worked with a couple of people that came in that said, well, I'm a private developer that said, maybe I want to take your building, and maybe I want to do a big parking lot, and this and that. And, you know, the numbers came out, and, you know, we don't have a lot of money. I mean, the money that they would need to do that, to make it financially feasible, really has to come from other sources. So when you say to me, we sit down and we have a 5-year finance plan, that we develop or identify certain sorts of tax credits for the federal government for blighted areas, which is one of the things one of the developers was talking to me about. And it's like a 40% tax credit. Those kind of things have to come into play to make it work. It's not, the TIF is not going to do it by itself. So, it's getting the plan done, but it's also having a plan to implement a project once we get it extended. Or we'll just sit here like we did the last 10 years and not really, we don't have a lot to show for what we've done.
The best way I could kind of explain what our proposal is that you've got redevelopment and you've got economic development. And then they're two circles that cross over, and redevelopment is part of economic development is part of redevelopment. And really what we're doing here is taking our approach to economic development and pulling that in to really give you the redevelopment plan that is actionable and implementable. And it's that. It's you have to consider the realities of the real estate market, the realities of your consumer markets, of your regulatory environment. You know, does the city's process have a reputation of fairness or not? Because that's going to impact the financial thinking of the partner you're sitting across the table in. And so it's bringing those 5 drivers of economic development in doing the plan update within the context of those is really the approach we bring.
Clark, let me say, in our journey of us taking over the CRA, and the executive director will tell you, our relationship with the county hasn't been the best. We've just started, getting the relationship back on track. It's been, I don't even know, it's been really said to us that when you come with your redevelopment plan better be right, and it better be feasible, and it better have projects in place and financing in place, everything in place. So this isn't going to be a half job that we're doing.
Brick and mortar project.
Brick and mortar projects. This is, we're really in bad standing, and we're going to have to hit a home run with this redevelopment plan and what it looks like and moving forward. So that's what we're looking to do. But we're in a bad place right now.
Correct.
Who wrote the original plan? Did we have a consultant do that?
That was Frank Schnidman.
Frank Stidham.
Dr. Schnidman was the original designer of the original CRA plan. He wrote the actual plan, yes.
That was, you talking about the original plan, or you talking about the updated?
No, the original plan was
I thought he was
Dr.
working on the updated
Yeah,
plan.
Well, he was,
yes.
he was working on that to a point, and I think that Duke will tell you that I think he was working on a point, but there came a point in time of the financing for him to move forward,
Yeah.
and I think that
It was a difference in you know, he started the original update just recently, I think maybe 2 years ago. Something happened between him and the previous staff, and they didn't have enough information given to him to complete the plan update, so the plan update was never completed. You know, neither is here to discuss it now, so it's just, you know, us moving forward on it, but it wasn't updated.
And how much are we on the hook for on that job?
35,000.
So why don't we get Frank back to finish it?
Yeah, where is he?
What's going on?
I never
Well,
If the man already, this is what I don't
He's
understand,
already-
guys, if the guy's already
well,
done, if he's already put the nuts and bolts
exactly.
together, and
A
I'm
lot
not
of
knocking
time.
these two gentlemen here, and gosh, they're very knowledgeable also, but if the nuts and bolts are there, and he had a disagreement with the previous staff and the previous executive director, and we were satisfied with his work, and we're on the hook for 35 grand,
But I don't think we were satisfied with his work.
I like that, yeah, well,
Well,
let's talk, wait, Mike, let me just finish, please. We're talking 35,000 that we already laid out there. We have a project that we all endorse to have him do it. And somewhere, it's out there in Never Never Land, and we're out $35,000. And that doesn't make any financial sense to me. This is what that the overseers downtown in the county are looking at. How are we spending our money? Just, well, we didn't feel good today, so we're
Well,
gonna throw more money.
I think that,
Where are we with this, and?
well, all I can tell you is this, and he's obviously not here, but Dr. Schneeman has written CRA plans for cities all over the
I
United
agree.
States, as well as South Florida. And he is probably one of the most renowned CRA people around. What happened, I guess there was a disagreement with our previous staff, Leslie and some others, and I think he just sort of backed off for whatever reason. But I know he has accumulated a lot of information already in his prior getting the info together and that kind of thing.
That's not proprietary, right? That goes back to the CRA and the city. Everything is done.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Belongs to us, right?
Yes.
right.
So then if everything belongs to us and we already laid out 30,000, I understood, well, I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but I'm just a little bit confused. And I think we gotta stop saying, hey, let's feel good for everybody, but let's look at reality, folks. We laid out $30,000 of CRA money to have a plan drawn up. I understood that he did draw up that plan. Now, there was a conflict between him and the former executive director, and before him and Leslie, or between him and Leslie. Where is that plan now? Can that plan be submitted to the county?
No.
Is it not viable, that plan?
The plan that was done was incomplete. When we came in and we put together, there was no plan in place. And speaking with Mr. Snitman, it was, the best of my recollection, don't quote me on it, was he wasn't given enough information on where we wanted to go in the future, what plans we wanted to get done, what projects we wanted to get done. There were no projects on the table to be done, so he didn't write any projects into the plan. Basically, he gave us a recap of what we had going on to move forward. That's what I believe happened.
And he was waiting on the downtown master plan to be completed.
Exactly.
To get projects from the downtown master plan to be implemented into the CRA plan. Now, keep in mind that as part of your downtown plan or your downtown capital plan, your CRA plan has to be independent. I think, and Kevin, you will be able to tell us, under Florida statutes, you must have two separate plans and the funding cannot be commingled. If it's in your CRA plan, it cannot be used.
Capital improvement plan.
Yes.
Our original CRA included lots of other stuff.
Correct.
The whole slum and blight conditions.
Right,
right.
Redevelopment neighborhoods.
Right.
That's far more than the downtown redevelopment.
And it also included equal housing, house for house.
Included every dollar spent in visiting land, it was
Right.
supposed to be pumped back into
Right.
rehabbing a house, and none of that ever happened.
Right.
Exactly. And that's part of why we're in trouble.
Well, and there are,
Yeah.
and
Money to everybody, and
Every
Exactly.
facade program, every other, exactly.
every
I
little
thought the
program.
facade program was successful.
Yes.
Maybe I'm the only one.
So your facade program was successful.
All right, so now, if my understanding is correct, and I really like to get to the bottom of this.
Mhm.
We're out $35,000.
Yes,
That's what the bottom line is.
that's the bottom
We're
line.
out there, and is there any way of salvaging this 35,000 to get Mr. Stidman to complete the project? Has anybody contacted him, guys?
Has anybody contacted? I
mean,
don't think anybody's contacted him.
I would like to, I don't know if I can,
Uh,
to submit a motion that we call him back.
Well, let me,
The three of them present, I think that the guy deserves an opportunity.
let me ask the question to the attorney. At this point, Mr. Stibbitt isn't under contract or anything. Would this require us to go out to procure it? And I'm sure it would.
Well, again, similar to the discussion we're having about how we're doing this one, you could
Thanks, Kevin.
for lack of a better description, reactivate his contract, task him with completing the job. I am not going to sit here and say anything but tell you that he's likely to ask for additional funds
Exactly. Yes.
to complete that project and bring it to fruition to this body for it to review, make a recommendation, and to go through the process of getting the CRA extended. That's certainly an option that you can pursue if it's the recommendation of this body to the council, or the governing body decides to do that.
Okay, one second. We do have a motion on the floor.
What motion is that?
What was your motion
To
again?
recall the guy, to call the
All
guy.
three of them and do a presentation?
Do it.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Before
There-
we do this,
Yeah, okay.
On the motion, his contract is no longer in effect? And did he complete the terms of his initial original contract?
Again, that's,
know.
I'm sure there was probably, I am sure that there was probably a time frame specified for him. The contract, they generally have a beginning and an ending term, obviously list of deliverables, et cetera. My guess is there would be a slight, if not large, disagreement between the city and the CRA and Mr. Sidman as to who was responsible for what and why the situation is what it is today. But
As,
But-
I agree.
Wait, okay, all right. There was a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
No. I'd like to invite
Dr. Freeman.
and Mr. Sidman.
Well, I don't think we can do this. I think this, Mr. the manager, perhaps someone in mind, and as you just said about the contract, we don't know if his contract
Yeah, I
expired.
have not.
We could not have an emotion now.
I have not looked at the contract.
We can't do
and
this.
it- and-
Well, we don't
and-
know.
We don't know.
We
ultimately,
don't know.
Right.
we'd have to take a look at it. I don't
Exactly.
even know if the contract is with the CRA versus, I presume
It is with the CRA.
Okay,
I
so
thi-
we
I
have to
think-
take a look at it and advise you
enough,
whether or
yeah.
not,
Right.
where things stand, what the provisions are, can it be renewed or reactivated? And that all presumes that Mr. Sidman is willing to
Okay,
To
so
do so.
we have a lot of, obviously, the motion can be subject to the conditions of his expressing an interest and et cetera.
I'm for the
So-
project, but however they make
Okay.
it to-
We have a motion. Do we have a second to his motion?
And
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
The only reason why I interrupt, and please, is because one of the things, or one of the issues that we were going to discuss in our presentation was precisely this type of getting over the hump and moving forward from where you are now and how you get, to the extending of the CRA plan with the county. But it is your meeting, and you all, there is a motion and a second on the table, so it would be.
That's-
There's no second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's no
There's no
second, so the motion fails.
We don't know if it's available.
For the purposes of discussion, I was gonna second that for the purposes of discussion. And I would like to hear from the executive director, what his thoughts are on inviting Mr. Stidman back. I mean, after all, folks, one of our jobs, and one of the reasons that we're in this bind right now, and I'm grateful that we have Duke here and Aleem, is that we squandered millions of dollars. And that's why we're not being looked at too favorably downtown. And now we have another $35,000 that went downrange, and I think we owe the taxpayers, the property owners, and ourselves, the city council, not only the city council, but when they act as the CRA board, we just can't dismiss that. That's $35,000 that just went up to evaporation. And we better darn well have our T's crossed and our I's dotted and know what the heck we're doing. So I want to hear from Aleem before we just...
Yeah, we're discussing the motion, yes.
Right. And again, what the coordinator Duke has just explained is correct. I believe that he was contracted to do the plan. He was waiting on our downtown redevelopment plan to be completed, the concept plan. That has been done. And based on the priorities and the list of projects presented in the downtown redevelopment plan, then a decision was going to be made on which projects are going to be taken out and be done by the city and which projects are going to be taken out and done by the CRA. And that's the point, I believe, where everything stopped. In looking at the information that was provided by him, that's the information that he was requesting from the CRA coordinator at the time. Now, if it's the wish of this body to contact him again, to get a price on how much it will take for him to complete the plan as is, then I think it's the best fiduciary responsible thing to do. But keep in mind, we have RMA, they have already submitted their proposals as well. And as Duke said, the time is of the essence right now. So, either way that we make a decision in which way we want to go, my recommendation is talk to him and see how much and what it will take. It will still cost us more money with Mr. Snidman. I don't know exactly how much, but I will have to get that price as well.
Okay, may I make a suggestion then? I would see at this point in this juncture here, I would like to hear our other presentation.
Okay.
And then also with the caveat of we could go before the CRA board tomorrow, but with the caveat that we also want to hear from Mr. Snidman and maybe have our next meeting, say 3 weeks down the line or 2 weeks down the line, so we can expedite this.
Snidman?
Yeah, I'll reach out to him.
Is this going to the CRA tomorrow night?
Yes.
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 It's important.
So.
Then the following, folks, like I said, there's 35 grand out there, and even the CRA board, this is the whole nuts and bolts. I would at
If it's
least
going to be going to the meeting tomorrow night, we need
tomorrow,
to move
but
forward.
they don't have to
with this.
select.
Let's, for the time being, I don't say that, let's forget Mr. Snyder about $3,500.
$35,000.
$35,000?
Yes.
But this need to go tomorrow night before.
Well, they don't have to make a decision.
They don't have to make.
They don't have to make a
Make it
decision.
2 weeks from
They
tomorrow.
only
Yeah.
need to listen.
But do
Yeah.
you know if it's
We
available?
wait a minute, we still have a motion and a second.
And if you're not going to take up and vote on the motion, and ask, Gray Robbins to make
Right.
his presentation, the proper thing would be to table the motion, until.
Next 2 weeks, you want to have a
But this is very, very important.
No, these
We
are
have to
very
do this
important.
tonight, very important.
and as
We
a
got to
board, I
support
want to
the
remind you
manager
guys,
with this.
as Duke and I keep
Yes.
emphasizing, time is of the
That's right.
essence if we want to move forward
We
with
got to
this
move
plan.
forward with this.
Can we ask the amended motion to ask them to not vote on it tomorrow night, to bring it back in 2 weeks?
We cannot wait on 2 weeks, and we
Well,
cannot wait on 2
No,
weeks.
no.
We cannot wait on 2
No,
weeks.
I think what they're saying is,
What do you call a question?
We got to make a decision tonight.
What when the question is called, you can still discuss, because I don't believe, from what I'm hearing, is the board understands, or it needs to be clarified what it is that because as I recall, the motion on the table is to ask staff to bring Mr. Snidman back to you all, in 2 weeks, to make a presentation, assuming he's willing, as to what it would take to complete the plan under his auspices.
Okay.
And what that cost would be.
Okay, are we gonna vote on that?
Before we vote on it, let's see. Is that good for you, Mr. Manager? For Mr., because you might have somebody in mind, that's my point.
No, I have nobody
It's,
in mind.
it's nobody in mind. It is gonna go to the CRA tomorrow. Of course, your board, if you guys vote, you can make a recommendation tomorrow, you know, to the board. But it's still gonna go to the board tomorrow. Again, as, and John said, in moving forward, I mean, you know, we've been, you know, doing this. We put it off this week and say, okay, we're going to bring Frank Stidman back. Is he going to be able to turn around a proposal in a week, 2 weeks? If he doesn't, then we do another CRA meeting. Now, the CRA meeting that happens tomorrow night doesn't happen again for a month unless we ask them to
Why can't we
to do a special meeting.
I think
And that's fine. I mean, if that's what we want to do as a board.
Also, the
Finish
thing
working for
is
my
that
25.
the two gentlemen, they are new. They don't know anything about our CRA, no more than him. He know more than both of them. We will not waste time. When he come, he will jump in the wagon.
Well,
He already know what is going on.
First of all, I don't think it's good for the time being to Mr. Snyder get back, but now, I understand we already pay him $35,000. Because he might say, well, listen, guys, I'm finished working, I have another project I'm doing, so I'm done with you guys. So let's try to move this a little bit. Let's move this tonight.
Right, and I think,
Something on the floor.
I understand we pay him
Okay.
$35,000, he might say,
okay, we have a motion.
In a second. The item has been called. It would be appropriate for you all to vote on that motion at this point in time.
Okay, all right.
on that, it's gonna be delayed.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed?
Then it's you vote. You have to vote.
Well, I would just tie the vote, no matter what.
No, it's 3-3.
It's 3-3.
It's 3-3.
It's 3-3 right now. So
It's
the chair has to
3-3?
vote, yeah. So you're the swing vote.
Well, I have to.
Because it's gonna be
Wait
delayed.
a second.
Mike, just vote, please.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, it is, because I see the value in
Well,
both.
you gotta make a decision.
It's
Okay.
gonna be delayed, there's gonna be delay, Mike. He said no.
Well,
We cannot wait. till Mr.
because,
Snyder. We cannot wait.
no,
till
wait
Mr.
a
Snyder.
minute. Because of the recommendation of the city manager, the CRA director, and what he feels is most appropriate, which is the motion, I'm gonna have to go with it.
You're gonna vote yes.
Yes.
All right, motion passed.
So then it passes 4-3.
To reach out to Mr. Stidman, you want to clarify the motion? Reaching out, yeah, I need to make,
Yeah, to reach out to the guy.
As I understand, the motion that's been voted on by majority 4-3 is to direct the executive director to reach out to Mr. Snidman and inquire with Mr. Snidman, one, is he willing to complete the project? Hold on, because what is the time frame? What is the time frame, his availability to be able to do it, and what is the cost?
right.
Yeah.
Because without the intermediate one, you're back to square one.
Go ahead, John, that's right.
All right.
I would like to hear your presentation tonight, because that doesn't nullify, it does not nullify it.
Yeah, it nullifies
No,
it.
you can't hear his presentation.
What did it say in that motion that nullified his presentation?
Because we said all three.
Wait, a minute,
Exactly.
this gentleman gave his
He doesn't have to
presentation,
do
it was very good.
presentation.
Hang on, fellas, give me a trial before you hang me. All right.
Well, we're gonna shoot you, we're gonna put you on the firing squad.
Okay. I thought your presentation was very good. You answered some of the questions that I had. Your firm knows all about RCIA, you helped develop it. I think it would be imperative that we hear your presentation also. And then I think we should hear from Stidman, if in fact he wants to come back. I think what we did here tonight, there's a broader picture. There's a broader picture than just shooting ourselves in the foot and going. We're showing that we're responsible for the fiduciary responsibility of the CRA tonight. Okay, there's a broader picture than just saying, 35,000 evaporated. That's what we're showing our constituents, that's what we're showing the city council and the CRA board. I think it's imperative that we hear from you. And then when we hear from you, if, say Shinman tells us to go shovel sand, we make a decision.
It'll take 2
Well,
hours.
with that being said, I'd like to, and I know this won't go anywhere, but I'm gonna make it official, I'm making a motion that we actually do an RFP on this.
Okay.
Because I think we are going the back door into this. I think we already laid the groundwork, talking to other people about putting this together without making it public or official. I think if we would've done this, we wouldn't have the issue with Mr. Schnippen and all this other stuff.
Just keep in mind,
I
Mr.
understand the timeframes and
I understand that, but keep in mind, Mr. Stidman was being paid $5,000 a month for the first 6 months of the CRA.
I think we paid more than $35,000.
Yeah, I'm sure it's well more than that. And, you know, what have we gotten? You know, when I took over the CRA in April, and when I looked at the finances, and I looked at everything, serious decisions had to be made. And I made, you know, those decisions means, you know, cutting a lot of people in order for this CRA to continue and to survive the remainder of life that it has.
Well, let me,
No, it's our role to protect that money that gets spent.
Right.
let me, can I ask
Do
a?
we have any other,
Yeah, we're going to be
Okay.
wrapping up soon.
There's
Okay.
a motion. Is there a second?
well, that was my motion, right?
Oh, your
Made a
mo-
motion.
there
I
was a,
still feel like we should actually go through the RFP process and really get an in-depth redevelopment plan put forward, and not just playing with what we got.
Can I have a question? Do we have time to
Well-
avoid the CRA?
well, that's my next comment, Blanca. But we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
You second it? Okay, is there any discussion on that motion?
I just,
I personally, since we have a second for discussion, I'm gonna discuss. I think that, I think we really, really don't have time for an RFP. I think the process is just gonna extend it so long that we're gonna be right on the cutting edge of being approved. And, you know, to me, there's two pieces to this puzzle, and I think that one of the things that we're confusing is, I see it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've talked to some staff, and I think unless, you know, I'm reading it all wrong, there's really two pieces of the puzzle. The first piece is getting the life of the CRA extended. Nothing's gonna happen unless we get the CRA extended.
Exactly.
And now we're entering a time portion that we're up against the wall. Now, there's services that RMA, he's talked about services, they've talked about services that may be appropriate to a RFP after the life is extended. We may, right? Am I correct? See, to me, there's really two processes. Getting it extended it's a broad thing, but it's a very narrow thing at the same time. Maybe all the different services that RMA wants to do and all the additional services that maybe Gray Robinson wants to do, that may be appropriate for a second, an RFP, which is what the city manager and Duke,
Yeah,
you know.
but Mike, you need to have both of them both pieces coming together in the beginning. So
Well,
that when you go and you make your redevelopment
when-
plan and you do your
when-
things,
when-
you have an eye, you're looking at how are you gonna finance these things? How is this gonna happen?
Well,
How is this gonna come together?
Well, when
You're
we-
separating two things that shouldn't be separated.
Well-
We have to go by priority. What go
but
first?
here's the thing, when we
If we put it
originally,
together,
when we,
will not get the life
many
extended.
months ago, when we talked about,
They are together.
well, yes and no. There are pieces of it, yes, but are there pieces of it?
Well, I think that's what happened before. We
Well-
had a plan that was written out, a development plan by Schnitzman, and then it went thump on our laps, and nobody knew exactly how to implement it. And it was worthless. We
Well-
didn't do anything that was in the redevelopment plan.
let me
Right.
just say,
We had
Chair,
AstroTurf
if-
for a
if
stadium.
you guys, right now, we're not in good standing, as we
Correct.
said.
Right.
We're not in good standing. Us going back to the county we need to go with a fresh look. We have a fresh city manager, we have a fresh team, we build a relationship. Us coming back and saying, okay, we're gonna go with the people who've been working on it and been doing it in the past. I don't know where that puts us.
I got
Right.
You know, I'm not down to Mr. Snitman, not at all. I don't want it to get that mistaken that I am. But I'm just saying, we're going back saying, okay, we're back and we got our original people who did the CRA, we're back at the table again. Now, if I came back to the table, and the only thing we have at stake here is our CRA sunsetting. That's the only thing that's at stake.
Right.
Now, are we gonna take the next 16, 17 months and maybe, okay, we're gonna give it a good shot, or do you bring the sledgehammer to kill a mosquito right now? And that's where I'm at. You know, if we're gonna take a chance on this CRA, bring the sledgehammer to kill a mosquito if we want it to go forward.
Yeah.
You know, and let's get it done and be done with it.
Yeah.
And I just,
All right, well,
I'm
we have
sorry.
a motion and a second on the
Okay.
floor.
Before you take I just want to say one thing. You know, I don't think it's fair for Gray Robinson, and I don't think it's fair for RMA, because their proposals are out there right now.
Right.
So anybody coming in, whether we put out an RFP, and I just want to mention this before we take a vote on it. We know what this CRA in Miami-Dade County's eyes, how we look right now. Okay? It took us months to meet with both commissioners, you know, Commissioner Sally Heyman, Commissioner Monestein, you know, to build back or to rebuild some of these bridges that was broken and that definitely needed repairs. You know, we were told directly, and Duke is here when we went to that meeting, I was not going to vote on some of your budgets again. I mean, that's how bad it was. North Miami CRA would not be approved. Your budget, we have been fighting with the county to get the past 3 years budget approved. And it's all evident. There's proof of everything I'm telling you here.
And when
You know, are we going to remain, as Duke is saying, are we going to remain in the CRA business? We need to get a plan to take it down to the county so this CRA would not sunset.
So we don't have time for an RFP on this particular portion.
I'm just saying it.
You know, listen, in the very beginning, and certainly RMA is well qualified, and certainly Gray Robinson is.
Right.
They're as equally. I think they're both as equally qualified. My original thought was that between Duke and Terry and Aline, we have such a team going right now. And I told them I thought they could do it. I think that our staff is fully capable of doing it, but I know they don't want to do it they got too much on their plate right now. But putting it out to an RFP, I just, seriously, Clint, I don't think, you know. So anyway, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Okay, all opposed? No. Okay, all right, so, a quick question, I know, Clint, you have to go. I know you have to go. A quick question, if we call Frank Schnidman tomorrow and he says, absolutely not, no way in the world, what position does that put us in? Obviously, are we gonna get the two proposals again in 2 weeks?
One thing is, Ray Robinson give us their presentation.
Yeah, their president is in a, yeah.
Right, okay.
Let me try and maybe help guide you. And if Mr. Schnidman says no, by midday tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon, I don't want to speak for you all, but maybe what you want to do is direct the executive director to report your motion, report tomorrow to the board that he followed through with your motion, contacted Mr. Schnidman, and received a no. And so what you have before at that point in time would be the two proposals.
Exactly.
That's right.
May I just go one step?
And that's why I said. I heard a very good presentation tonight. I heard your presentation. It was a question I wanted to ask as far as how much it was gonna cost and how much it was gonna cost, two different things.
It's in the packet.
If Mr. Schnidman comes sit back and he says, I want another $30,000, I don't think that would be fiscally responsible.
Correct.
What I'm saying tonight is that we put the money out there. we should be showing something before it doesn't evaporate. You know, they say the devil's cut when you're drinking bourbon and the angel's cut. Well, you know, that money went to the angels. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Stidman worked for it. I'm not insulting him by any form, fashion, or manner. He's one of the most knowledgeable persons and the most honorable man I've ever met. And I think, in all fairness to this board, we made a decision, and we got nothing for it. I think we should find out if we can get, if it's a moderate cost, and then we have to weigh it out, because these guys are just as knowledgeable. If we want,
That's correct.
All right, so we're gonna,
I like to hear what he
Okay.
has to say, and
All right.
then we go from there.
okay.
Can we call him?
And that's a good idea. Call
Can
him
we call
tomorrow.
him
Maybe
now?
he doesn't want to do it.
So,
Can we try to call him now?
Was there any other thing I?
is there gonna be another motion?
Is
So,
there another
anything, action
Before
item?
No, there's no
we
more
vote,
action
Leave it
items.
on the floor.
Right.
Can we try to call him now to see?
Then, 5 minutes.
Well, I don't need to hear the presentation, I really do have to be in another.
Hello?
Yeah.
I will try and be as succinct
Okay.
and
5
direct
minutes, 5 minutes.
as possible.
I think we're gonna wrap it.
And in fact, that is the gist, the substance of our proposal, is to in fact take the existing information that you all have worked extremely hard, that we have worked with you, and leverage that to get the thing done. It's about economies of scale, taking the information that has been worked at very hard, the various reports, work with your staff, supplement them, assist them in making sure that everything is put together in a proper format and submitted to the county to make sure and to ensure that the CRA gets extended. One of the things that we bring to the table is the relationship at the county, both at the staff level as well as the county commission level, where we've worked with these individuals for years in different capacities, including as the attorney for one of the Miami-Dade County's own CRAs. So we're very familiar with their staff. We work with them on a regular basis, just as we work with you all and your staff. And so we believe that we have the ability to leverage all of that information, leverage those relationships, and make sure that we get a product done. And it takes advantage, and that's where the economies of scale of the proposal, frankly, we believe truly apply. It's about getting it done, making sure that it gets done properly in the most cost-efficient and quickest manner as feasible. We understand the concepts of meeting with county staff. We've gone through that. We've assisted other CRAs in going through this exact same process. The concerns and issues that you all have aren't unique to you. While it may have been a larger particular issue with you all, other cities and other CRAs are going through the same issue, both in Miami-Dade County as well as in Broward County, and we're assisting them as well in getting over that proverbial hump. It's ironic. You all may recall, maybe you don't, is that the last time I was here is in fact the last night or last evening that Mr. Schnidman was here. He was in the audience. He made a brief presentation to you. He made some comments to you. That was the evening when basically the entire process fell apart. When the executive director was appointed, he had just, and your staff took over. And since then, we have worked very closely with your executive director. We've worked very closely with your planning staff. We work very closely with your fiscal staff to make sure that this plan gets put in a position where it's going to work. And it's going to do what you all want it to do. And we believe we're in the best position to assist you and do that in the most cost-effective manner, so we don't have the angel's cut going out there.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'll try to be as quick as and to the point.
Your fee for this was how much?
$25,000.
And that would take us through the whole process?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was the fee, I'm sorry, sir, what your fee was?
70,000.
70,000?
Yes, for the 2 phases.
And that was,
That's
but
correct.
how much for the first phase to get us renewed? That's what I was.
Well, for the technical plan update and going through for the plan update and going through the process, that component is $30,000.
30,000.
30,000.
And we're comparing apples to apples. We're already there. We know your plan. We know what needs to be done.
Only because I wasn't involved in the beginning. Did Greg Robinson handle the original legal representation when the CRA plan was first filed?
They have been the only CRA
yeah.
attorneys
That
since,
was already done when I was.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've been the only CRA attorneys to my knowledge. They have never, we have never
The original
changed.
CRA was filed with the county.
Correct.
Gray Robinson the council of record?
Right. I believe it may have been your city staff, but we came in afterward, and
Yeah.
since then, we've been
Yeah.
your.
Since CRA operates as a separate entity,
Yeah.
since then I know Gray Robinson has
they-
been on board.
Yeah, they came in after the original plan. Yes, yes.
Was John De La Gloria,
John
the
De La
city
Gloria
attorney at the
worked on
time, who started it, and then after everything was separated from the city, the attorneys at that point were Gray Robinson.
Yes. Mr. Zelkwitz has been your.
Right.
So there's no question that they know our CRA, obviously, and I know the firm of Gray Robinson is well-respected at the county level, so.
And we do this throughout the state. We're CRA, we're not just CRA attorneys for you all, we're CRA attorneys for a number of different CRAs throughout the state.
Mr. Director, are you asking though that we change that original motion somewhat to say that if you reach out to Mr. Shipman tomorrow and he doesn't respond favorably, that the advisory board then make a recommendation for tomorrow night's meeting?
Sure.
Right,
Okay.
All right, I'll make that motion.
okay.
And I'll second the motion.
Right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
We just want to make sure that we get the CRA life extended after we've been
Correct.
through so much.
Correct.
Exactly.
It's
And
been
then,
too long.
out of these two, say he doesn't come in, out of these two firms, which one would we recommend?
We will have both
We have to have a
presentations
motion.
tomorrow,
Oh,
and
you
it
wanna
will
do that
take it,
tomorrow?
let the board, yes.
And let the board
Yes.
do the recommendation?
Correct. And again, I want to be fair to everybody. It's not fair for Gray Robinson or fair for RMA. Their both proposals are out there. We have all seen it as a public document, and I want to make sure that,
Well.
It's fair to everybody.
I think real quick, I'm sorry, John.
As the CRA attorney, I think what the board will do is they'll select.
Yes.
I don't know whether or not you all are going to make a recommendation.
We should.
Okay, you have a
Well, it's
motion?
up to you.
I make a motion that we pick one of these two firms tonight.
Well, we already did that. So the motion is which one?
Well, I'm looking at it from a financial point, the other firm is excellent, but we know Gray Robinson, 25,000 versus 30,000. I think we should go with Gray Robinson.
Do I have a second? Second? Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Discussion. I am just concerned about, I think they're both, the initial phase, one is 25, one is 30. I don't think that's a huge difference for something this important. I guess we can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah.
RMA, of course, I've already put my discussion where I'm coming from. I'm interested in someone that's looking to take us further than just getting us extended. But then we just
Yeah.
land with, where are we now?
Yeah, well, I
So-
think that they were pretty articulate and they're gonna be doing the same work.
No,
So,
they weren't.
yeah.
No, we will work with your staff to put the projects in the plan. We have to. That's
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about putting the plan together to implement the actual brick and mortar after we get extended.
That will happen, that will be done.
That will be done.
It has to be done.
So it's in both.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Again, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, that will be our recommendation.
Let me ask you,
Okay.
one
Wait,
question for,
He's gotta go, Ken.
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Clint,
Is there
thank
any
you.
other-
No, we're good, that's it.
We're good, okay.
Sorry.
No, thank you for attending. At least we had a quorum tonight.
For point of clarity, let's say he comes in tomorrow, and, well, I think it's a moot issue at this point.
I think it's a moot issue. No,
I just think that, I think what we did was we cleared the air.
We cleared the air on
We're not
everything.
taking it for granted that we're just gonna evaporate
Correct.
$30,000.
Okay.
I just don't see that. I think that,
All right, so can we move on to item 3?
Well, item 3 is the CRA appointments, but that'll be the board that'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
The board appointments, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't see anything.
Yes, it's in your packet, last page in your agenda.
Yeah, but there's no name.
Yeah, I think everybody is okay with the current appointments. We have a lot of vacancies.
A lot of vacancies.
And we do have several people that have made application according to the city clerk's office this afternoon. The only one that, and I mentioned to Clint that he needs to make sure and contact somebody for renomination. We do have two people evidently that have submitted interest so far, and that was Esther Blinn and,
If you want, I could read out the list for you.
okay, good.
Okay, we have Clark Reynolds, appointee, Councilman Galvin. Your term ends September 2014. Claudio Sanchez, appointee, Mayor, Vice Mayor Keys. Appointment expires September 2015. We have Pastor Enoch Million, Councilwoman Steril. Appointment expires on September 15. Vacant. Jeffrey Mondesir,
Yeah, he sent in a,
Councilwoman Steril's appointee. He resigned,
he resigned, right.
so that position is vacant. Kenny Each, appointed by Mayor Joseph. Appointment expires on September 2015. Mark Wallen, appointee, Vice Mayor Keys. Appointment term expires 2015 September. Mary Estime Irving, appointed by Mayor Joseph, expires September 2015. Michael McDermott, Chair, Councilman Galvin's appointee, expires September 2015. Vacant and at large, we have three of those positions. One by Councilman Bienemy, whose appointee is not here. So we have three of those vacancies together with the vacancy of Jeffrey Mondesir, who resigned. So there are presently
and
four
Mark
vacancies.
Wolin.
And Mark Wolin.
And then there's one more, there's
Mark
six vacancies.
Mark resigned.
Yeah.
Oh, he resigned as well? So
Yeah.
this needs to be updated.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't
I don't know,
resign.
did he?
Did he send in his resignation?
I think he did.
Well, as far as the city clerk is concerned, his resignation, this came from the city clerk.
Okay.
So
So did Mark resign?
I am not sure. I have to confirm that before I say anything.
But he hasn't
I need to
addressed
con-
4 meetings in a row, so he's out.
Oh, your name? I didn't read out your name?
You're on the list.
It's on there.
There is a second page. Or a first one.
Is she one of the, are you one of the at-large appointees?
I don't know.
Who is your appointee? Who is your?
I don't know.
I
Okay,
thought
let me
she was
find-
on the list when I looked on the list.
Yeah, we'll find out.
She's here.
Michael McDermott, Kenny
every-
Leach, Mark
every
Wallen,
meeting.
Pastor Million, Claudio Sanchez, Clark Reynolds.
No?
Okay, let
She
me
must be
check.
one of the at-large ones. I'll look
Yeah,
into that.
let me check on your
I'll look
appointment.
into it tomorrow.